Hello, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about something that I deal with patients all the time. Um, Maybe they are comparing themselves to someone, but they feel stuck, right? They're really stuck in this perfectionism on a plant based diet. And so, the reason I want to help you understand how to get over this is because it is not an uncommon problem. And so, they almost push themselves into being so perfectionist because they hear different things that they believe they have to do this or they're going to fail. And so that is such an empowering thing to understand that that's not the case. So I want to share that with you. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dr. Lori Marvis. I'm a board certified family and lifestyle medicine physician. I am licensed in every single state in this country and DC. So I've seen patients across this country in every single state that are plant-based eaters. And I've been plant-based myself for over 13 years. And so I feel very uniquely qualified to answer questions because I've talked to thousands of people who eat a plant-based diet. I've seen their labs. They see me as a physician. They're telling me things that they don't even tell their own family members. So I'm taking all that knowledge and trying to bring it here to a space for you so that you can understand how to transition to this plant-based eating, which also opens up so many other areas of your life that you may be not even realize that once you start feeling better and because you're putting better food into your body, many things improve. So let's get started with the topic at hand. And really, just a reminder, shifting to the plant based diet can absolutely feel empowering, right? But it can also trigger some unexpected challenges, particularly the pressure to do it perfectly, right? So, one of the most insidious barriers is negative self talk. It's the inner voice, I call it the crazy roommate, that criticizes, judges, and shames you when you don't meet unrealistic expectations. The voice often stems from deeper emotional and societal factors, but there is good news that you can quiet it. I've done it myself. So, we're going to explore where the negative self talk comes in, how it manifests on a plant based diet journey, and really actionable strategies to overcome it. So, what are the roots of negative self talk? Negative self talk often stems from a combination of internal and external factors. So, I'm going to talk about four in particular. Number one is societal and cultural pressures, right? So, we live in a world that celebrates extremes and rewards perfection. Social media, influencers, and diet culture just kind of amplify the idea that you should always be doing more, preparing elaborate meals, and avoiding every imperfection or committing to the plant based living without compromise. This creates a sense of quote unquote falling short whenever you don't meet the unrealistic expectations or standards. Number two is this all or nothing thinking, right? Perfectionist tendencies tend to develop from rigid thinking patterns. If I can't do this perfectly, I've failed. This mindset erodes your self worth. As success, it only is defined by unattainable ideals. So, missing one plant based meal can feel like total failure rather than a single moment in a much larger journey of your life. Number three is fear of judgment. You may fear judgment from others, like including friends, family, or even the vegan community. Sometimes we'll eat our own. It's insane. If your choices aren't perfect, you may find that others who strive for the plant based diet ideal will judge you or not even allow you in their communities because you're not doing it the way they perceive to be perfect. And that is such it's not only harmful to the world in at large, but harmful to the community, to themselves. It's just beyond frustrating. External criticism can amplify your internal voice, right? You're leading to shame and guilt, even when you're making meaningful progress. Number four is past experiences and conditioning. So, negative self talk can arise from childhood experiences, learned behaviors, or societal conditioning. If you were taught that mistakes were unacceptable and that self worth is tied to achievement, it's easy to carry those beliefs into adulthood. And this manifests into diet choices where any slip up feels like a reflection or or a personal failure. It's a reflection of personal failure. So, how does this show up? How does negative self talk show up on a plant based diet? Well, you get guilt trips after slip ups, right? So eating something non-vegan intentionally or unintentionally triggers thoughts like I have no self-control or I can't do anything. Number two is minimizing progress, right? So even after positive steps, you tell yourself, I'm not doing enough or it's still not good enough. Self judgment, right? You label yourself harshly. I'm a failure. I'm not disciplined enough rather than seeing imperfections as part of growth. I will have patients on more than a few occasions say, I'm not even worthy to keep working on this because I'm just a failure. They have such low self-esteem and feel that they're not even worth the feeding themselves healthy food. It breaks my heart, but it's so frustrating too at the same time because if I could just shake them to show that they are so worthy of so much more than just even consuming a plant-based diet. Anyway, next is really comparing yourself to others. So, seeing someone else's perfect plant-based lifestyle on social media might trigger the belief that you'll never measure up. So, I get this all the time. People are like, "What are you eating, Dr. Marvis?" I wanna say exactly what you're eating. I'm gonna tell you, I eat a plant-based diet. I mean, I don't eat animal products, but am I whole food plant-based perfect all the time? No, because I'm a human being living a human life in this existence, and I'm making the best choices I can over the time. So, for example, when we're traveling cross country, and I have traveled across this country thousands of miles. I've lived in 9 plus different states. I'm literally living in an RV now because I'm trying to release everything in my life as far as like obstacles to freedom. And I just want to live a different life unhindered by people's judgments and such. So when we're traveling cross country, sometimes we end up in a little place in rural Kansas, for example, or somewhere in West Texas. There are no plant-based stores or even grocery stores are limited. You might be in a one stoplight town, but there's a Taco Bell. And let me tell you what I order at Taco Bell. I get a black bean and rice burrito, added their lettuce and some avocado on it or their little guac or salsa or whatever. And it's in a white tortilla, but I'll order two of those and that will satisfy me until I can get somewhere and make a more prepared meal. But it makes it through. And guess what? It's good enough. It's good enough. And that's the really important thing here to understand that you do the best you can and you don't beat yourself up when it doesn't meet up to some expectation that many times we've set ourselves for. So the mindset is so, so important. Yes. Anyway, we understand that that kind of inner dialogue creates stress, shame, and frustration, which often causes people to give up entirely. And that breaks my heart more than anything. When I see the potential someone has in their health journey when they adopt a whole food plant-based diet and they give up because they didn't meet some imagined expectation, like they're going to be thrown in hell because they didn't meet some expectation by some group, some guru, or even what they've set themselves. And again, this can happen in all areas, all sorts of areas of life. But this one's really important because this is the one I'm seeing the most time. But again, many times we're talking about mindset and just in general, their self esteem and what that means to love yourself and find yourself worthy and their weight loss. And there's so many things involved here. But once you understand that you are not that negative voice in your head, that is something that is being created because of the story, the ego that's trying to live. When you understand that you can step back, that river of negative self-talk, you don't have to jump in the river and let it take you downstream and fall off a cliff. You literally can step out of the river and be on the bank and watch it flow by. You feel it welling up in your chest and you're feeling anxious. You can go, take a deep breath, anchor yourself, and say, I'm going to observe this. This voice, this feeling is not me. It's my crazy inner roommate. And you can name it. You're like, oh, here comes Annie anxiety, or oh, here comes disappointment Dell. It doesn't matter. You can name it, and then it's almost comical when you see it arising again. When you hear its voice, it can hear it's like when I was in the Air Force and I went to Alabama and we went through officer kind of quote unquote boot camp. And I was in a class with 100 some odd people, and there were dentists, doctors, professionals, right? People that we were older, graduate degrees, and they had us lining up. It didn't matter. There were drill sergeants that they treated you just like the E1, the private, the airmen coming in. I think they kind of enjoyed it. But I remember they had changed the rules for hair color bands. So when I arrived there, I mean, I was reading the rules. I'm going to pay attention. And literally, when I'm standing there and you can hear, there's one drill sergeant in particular, and I didn't have the color of hairband that was required with the rule change that happened while I was there. And I couldn't leave training. So I was stuck, but I had to have my hair up. So I used what I had, which was a black hairband. And obviously my hair is not black. And so I'm standing there and I know I can hear, because of what the drill sergeant does, they put these tacks under on the bottom of their shoes. It's like almost like tap shoes, but you hear them with their boots and they're like, and I hear him coming up right behind me. And he's like, Dr. Marbus, Captain Marbus. I'm like, yes. He goes, have you not know the color of the hair tie? And I can't remember what the rule was, where I was like, yes, sir, but I don't have it. He goes, I can't remember now what he told me. It was so embarrassing. But that's almost like that voice, right? It's, you can hear it coming, like you feel it welling up, like you feel the tension coming up, and you know it's gonna blast at you. Just like the drill sergeant blasted at me for the wrong color hair tie. In the world of military, formal, whatever, what does it matter my color my hair tie is? Anyway, same idea. So who cares if you're eating a Taco Bell taco when you're traveling across country? It's good enough. Keep going. In the big picture of things, this is minimal. So anyway, I really want to, it's comical when you start thinking about it that way. And so I hope that helps. But what do we deal with it now, right? So one, we're going to go over basically 5 steps to how to overcome the negative self-talk that shows up on a plant-based diet, right? One is you really want to identify and challenge the voice, right? So the step is overcoming every top is awareness. Kind of like I said, you can observe it. Pay attention to the thoughts that come up. And when you feel like you failed, you ask yourself, is this thought true? Would I say this to a friend in the same situation? What evidence do I have that I'm making progress, even if it's not perfect? So challenging these thoughts helps you realize they've often are exaggerated and untrue. But replace I failed today with I made progress by eating more plant-based meals than I did yesterday. Just get 1% better each day. That's all you need. And before you know it, you've reached the epitome of what you're eating is like really good, right? And you're seeing things shift. Your chronic disease is reversing. You're losing weight. You're having more energy. You feel good about the planet and the animals benefiting from your choices. Number 2 that you can do is reframe mistakes as learning opportunities. But I would say you can do this even more, even outside the plant-based diet, right? So remember, mistakes are not failures. They're part of growth. They're literally an opportunity to learn. And they show up to tell you, hey, here's an opportunity to learn. Ask what's the message in the moment. What can I take from this? So when you eat something non-vegan, shift your perspective. Instead of, I ruined everything, say, try, this is a chance to learn. What could I do differently next time? So by reframing, you allow yourself to kind of move forward without shame. Next is practice self-compassion, right? So self-compassion is the antidote to perfectionism. So treat yourself with the kindness and patience you would offer a close friend. One, acknowledge it's okay not to be perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Validate, I'm not doing the best. I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough. Reassure, I am still making positive changes and every step matters. Here's a practical tip. When negative thoughts arise, place your hand on your heart and say something kind like, I am enough and my efforts matter. This really is an act of self compassion. It can really help calm your inner critic by doing a couple of things. When you touch yourself, you're becoming mindful, you're becoming rooted in the moment. And it's really hard to remain in this self-critical cycle when you're bringing yourself this moment. You can take a deep breath, feel your heart, right? You're alive in this moment, and just, I am enough and my efforts matter. I am enough. And I think if people just would say, I am enough every single day, that will be a ground changer. Or and you could say, I am enough and I'm grateful for the things that I have done in my life. I'm grateful for the progress that I have made. And when you realize and you start being grateful for the progress you have made, that really diffuses any of this the negative self-talk too, because you're shifting your mindset. Number 4 is limit comparison to others. Oh my lord. Comparing yourself to others, whether it's online or friends, feeds perfectionism. Remember, social media only shows the highlight reel, right? Not the struggles behind the scenes. So focus on your own journey and celebrate your unique progress. Practical tip: unfollow accounts that trigger feelings of inadequacy and seek out supportive, judgment free plant based communities. I will tell you that alone will be a game changer. And really understand that just because you admire someone's body or whatever they're doing, but if it makes you feel worse, why are you following them? Again, you are on your own journey and you need to make that decision. What are you feeding? Who are you feeding? What are you feeding by watching that? And so, number 5 is celebrate small wins and progress. So, negative self talk thrives when you only focus on what's missing. So, shift your attention to what you are achieving, no matter how small. So, did you try a new vegan meal today? Did you reduce your meat consumption this week? These are victories worth celebrating. And a really practical tip is at the end of each day, write down one positive choice you made. And over time, this habit reinforces progress and helps quiet the perfectionist thoughts. So remember, you are enough even on an imperfect journey. The negative self talk often stems from your societal pressure, your all or nothing thinking, and deep seated beliefs about perfection. But the truth is, perfection isn't the goal, progress is. And by identifying and challenging those negative thoughts, practicing your self compassion, celebrating small wins, you can break free from the cycle of guilt and judgment. So remember, plant based living lifestyle is not about being flawless, it's about making choices that align with your values and your goals, one step at a time. Every meal, every decision, and every moment of growth counts. And regardless of whether it's perfect, you're not failing if you're learning, and that success alone is worth celebrating. So, I hope this helps, guys. I see this so many times with patients and people in my own life. I really pray for you that, and all of us, that we can heed even a little bit of what I'm saying here, because I've seen it destroy lives when you are just so bent on being perfect that you give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. So, I hope you found that helpful. And as always, I'm sending love, joy, and healing and harmony your way. And I wish you the best rest of your day. And I'll talk to you later.